Well, the U.S. Defense Secretary James Mattis says the U.S.-led airstrike on Syria was likely a one-time shot, but it was, quote, a heavy one. Here's what we know for you this morning. First of all, the U.S. and its allies have not said how many missiles they used. Syrian armed forces, however, claim 110 missiles were fired and that most of them, they say, were intercepted. The U.S. used B-1B bombers, guided missile and cruisers and naval destroyers. The Tomahawk cruise missile is typically a go-to for strikes like these. It's capable of carrying a 1,000-pound warhead. Now, France used its Storm Shadow missiles, which can fly for more than 250 miles. This is the damage from some of those. Believe some of the latest video here we're getting in of Syria this morning. And we know the UK used its Tornadoes in the attack as well. We're also learning the U.S. specifically identified targets that were involved in the making of chemical weapons, but that would also avoid Russian forces. National security and military analyst Rebecca Grant with us now. She's the president of IRIS Independent Research. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for being with us. First and foremost, as we get these reports, again, and this is not confirmed from the U.S. or by CNN at this point, but that Russia and Syria saying that most of the missiles were intercepted. If that is true, what does that tell you about the effectiveness of this campaign?
TASS is reporting that they took shots at many of these missiles. So when they say intercept, I don't think that necessarily means they shot them down. But let me tell you, it's a very bad morning for Putin and a bad morning in Russia. As you know, our coalition has been flying out in the eastern part of Syria on a daily basis, but there was a big question as to whether attacks could be launched on targets in and around Damascus. And Britain and France and the U.S. have managed to do that. They targeted right near Damascus and near a very major military base. So that Syrian air defense system did not do its job.
I want to listen here to a Syrian journalist, Danny Mackey. He's one of the first people in Syria that we're hearing from regarding what the consequence has been on the ground because of this strike. Let's listen here.
Now, the presidency page in Syria uploaded a video of the president going into work as usual this morning, and that's probably another ploy just to show the world that, you know, things are continuing as normal. But I can definitely tell you that in the hours between 4:30 and 5:30 this morning, things were not normal at all, and that this was not initially a symbolic strike in an airfield in the middle of nowhere. This was a strike within and around Damascus for the first time since the start of the Syria crisis.
So, Rebecca, this was, it's been characterized by the U.S., even by Turkey, by Australia, by even leaders in Israel, that it was proportionate, that it was targeted. They were trying to avoid any of the areas where Russia may be there in Syria. Based on what we know thus far, do you think it was a success?
Definitely a success. First of all, the Russians had plenty of warning all week to get out of the way. And then, as your reporter says, this was a strike really close in Damascus. I'm very impressed that they went after the chemical weapons storage and research. That shows that there was some superb intelligence work that went into identifying those targets. And then, as our allies around the world and partners are saying, it was very proportionate. You know, Mattis put it really well. He said, clearly Assad did not get the message last year. Well, this year's message is even stronger. And I think that message is being heard in Moscow. I think it's being heard by Kim Jong-un in North Korea. And that is that when this alliance gets together, we will not stand for the use of these weapons of mass destruction. And we have the means to go in, even with a very modernized air defense, and carry out this very powerful and precise attack.
Well, we are hearing we're getting different information, however, throughout the overnight. When we heard from Defense Secretary James Mattis, he said right now this is a one-time shot. Then we had President Trump saying we are prepared to sustain this response until the Syrian regime stops its use of prohibited chemical agents. If there is another chemical attack in Syria, is the U.S. now strapped, so to speak, to react? And would they react alone?
Oh, I think we're able to react, and I actually think both those things are true. You know, Dunford was very careful to say that the current target set had been fully executed, but our forces are still in the region. You know, our forces doing the anti-ISIS mop-up carried out 41 airstrikes this past week alone. So there's no question that we have the ability to go in again militarily if the president deems that necessary, and I think our allies are closer with us than ever. The anti-ISIS coalition has over 70 members, countries, NATO, so we will always have allies there. And I think this really is a new chapter that strengthens the allied use of precise power against entities that are trying to use weapons of mass destruction or even thinking about it. I think it really is a new chapter, and I think a very positive one.
All righty, Rebecca Grant, appreciate your insight here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.